Good morning. Good morning. Nice to see this crowd today. It's good that all of you were able to get out in this fine weather. We're going to start now. We're just a few minutes late. If someone comes in and joins us, that's fine, of course. I would like to call this meeting to order, the annual meeting of the Blair Lutheran Church. Dennis and Carolyn are weather impaired this morning. They're down in San Antonio suffering from the heat. So they're not here today, and otherwise Dennis would be leading the meeting. So I'm going to have to fill in for him today. First thing, I think I would like to call on Pastor Paul to lead us in the opening liturgy.
Thank you, Dick. And I want to express my gratitude for all of you showing up on this cold day. And we are live streaming, by the way. So we are live on Facebook for those who can't get here in person. And I know I send my deepest condolences to Dennis and Carl and Carolyn for the suffering that they're undergoing.
So they're Pastor, so we hope they catch the message.
Yeah, I hope you're catching that message there, Dennis and Carolyn. On a somewhat serious note, we should remember the family of Carmen Everson in prayer today as she passed away this morning. So let us begin with the litany that's on the inside of your back page. Holy God of all power and love, we give thanks for your unveiling presence. O God of all power and love, we give thanks for the hope you provide in times of uncertainty and loss. O God of all power and love, we ask you to send your Holy Spirit to enkindle in us your holy fire. And O God of all power and love, we ask you to revive us, to live as Christ's body in this world. And O God of all power and love, we ask to be a people who pray, worship, learn, break bread, share life, heal neighbors, bear good news, seek justice, and rest and grow in the Spirit. And O God of all power and love, we ask you to be with us, wherever and however we gather. Unite us in common prayer and send us in common mission, that we and the whole creation might be restored and renewed through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Enclosed on page 2, you'll find the Secretary's report for the annual meeting held January 26th of 2020. If you care to review that, if there are any questions, comments, please direct those, and we will ask for a motion to approve as printed in just a minute or so. We'll give you a chance to look at that. Is there a motion to approve them as recorded or written? A motion by Al. Vernon seconds that motion. All those in favor of that motion to approve the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? They're approved as printed. Lisa reminded me I need to declare a quorum, and fortunately we have enough. It only requires 15, so we do have enough. So we do have a quorum today. Anything else, Lisa, that you... Oh, Lisa, I think we'll keep minutes. Our recording secretary is not here today, so you will keep them as you're able to. Okay, thank you. We'll begin with the committee reports. You'll find the Music and Worship Committee report as well as the Youth and Education on page 17. And those are fairly short reports, and glance at that if you would. And while you're in that same vicinity in the annual report, on page 16 is the property report, and that indicates some of the issues that were dealt with in both the east and the west buildings. And again, review that as you have time. And on page 15, you will see the pastoral acts that took place during the 2020 calendar year. Okay, we have another report that's not listed here, and we'd like to include that. Ron is here, and we would like him to kind of brief us in terms of what has been occurring with the technology and over the last, 12 months? Okay, you want to step up to the microphone?
Last December, Vicar Paul, and Pastor Paul, I'm going to be messing that up, for the next 3 months. I did the podcast script every Saturday where I'm, doing an introduction. And last night it took 4 takes before I got, okay, it's pastor, not vicar, not stumble. So, but anyhow, we started out with the podcast, which is basically an audio recording of the message and the gospel reading. And we package that up and we send it out. Currently we're on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and a few other service providers. It automatically takes the message of the week without the user doing any intervention. And Sunday afternoon, they happen to look at their phone. It's like, okay, there's the Blair Lutheran service. And we've been doing that since December. And as of right now, we've had about 2,326 downloads, with a major spike yesterday in Russia, which is beyond me, but I guess we reach where we can. We're covering the United States from Texas to Minnesota, from Connecticut to Washington, although the vast majority of our viewers our listeners are in Wisconsin, about 50%, 25% in Minnesota, and then the numbers kind of get randomly spread throughout, which makes sense. On a typical week, we have about 40 people listening, which is pretty good. Beyond the podcast, we've also been doing video. And starting in January, I was putting our services on Channel 18, which is 618, and is now on Roku if you got a Roku box at home. We don't have any stats on that per se because there's no way to track what home viewers are doing. But currently, our worship services are showing every Sunday at 10 a.m., Saturdays, it can be 4 or 5, and there's random times throughout the week. So we are doing video for our people on the other side of the digital divide. We also have services on Facebook and YouTube, and our primary focus is Facebook because that way it makes it easy for pastor to interact, and we're not having to track things. The other thing with YouTube is we want to have it kid-friendly. Our messages should be for all ages. If we have it kid-friendly, that automatically turns the comments off on YouTube, because I'm sure anybody that's been on YouTube, you don't look at the comments or bad news. So we do our interaction on Facebook. We run about 200 to 300 views on Facebook every week, which is pretty amazing for a congregation of, typical average attendance is around 90 when we were in person, and now we're seeing about 300 people on Facebook, which is like, whoa, that's pretty intense. Now, Facebook doesn't give us a lot of detail as to who and where they're located, but we can see a few things, like sometimes the numbers seem inflated. Well, they are inflated because people will click on something, go, oh, that's a mistake, and they leave. And that's what Facebook does, is they look at the first 3 seconds. If somebody clicks in, clicks out, they throw those out. but we can also look at how long somebody stays on the page. For a 45-minute service, obviously, we don't have people staying the whole time. But what we're seeing is people come in, watch a little bit of it, and they'll come back a little later and watch a little bit more. We're also finding, comment-wise, that a single view that shows up on Facebook might be family. It might be somebody that watches with their kids later in the day. So those stats are interesting, but about 300 on Facebook. YouTube, we run about 5 to 10 views a week, and that's again spread across the United States. Occasionally we get some, well, we had some last month in Ireland. So it's completely random where our outreach is. And as far as worldwide, US, of course, Canada, like I said, we had a big spike yesterday in Russia, Ireland, Guyana, Australia, the Bahamas, St. Lucia. So we're all over the place, and that's just in the last 30 days. So, and I think that's probably about it in an elevator speech on our coverage.
Great, thank you, Ron.
Oh, go ahead.
Ron, it seems like you're doing a lot of activity around podcasting, all of this technology. Do we have the right technology?
Our big headache right now is in live streaming, and a good chunk of that we tried to live stream the Vicar's service, and we had 500 people on the Facebook page trying to watch the Vicar become a pastor. Sorry, it's going to take me a while.
Yep, you and me both.
But we had about 500 people last Sunday, all trying to watch at once. Well, there were problems with the cold. The audio was horrible. I'm sure today it's going to be working much better because I've got stuff direct in the PA and we're not dealing with cold and wet. That's probably our biggest headache. So we've primarily focused on doing everything pre-recorded, and that's mostly with my equipment. I'm familiar with it, and I know where things work and where things don't. If we do want to do live streaming, and I think once we get back to in-person worship, I think just looking at these numbers, we're reaching far beyond our doors with the online stuff. And I think even when we go back to in-person worship, there's still going to be people that will be at risk. And I think now that we're reaching out to vulnerable populations in the nursing homes and such, I can see we'll want to continue this. Then we want to make some investments in live streaming hardware, as well as talking to our internet service provider about a more reliable, faster connection. Because I've noticed even when Pastor Paul is doing confirmation, we've been running into dropouts when he does it virtually, and things will stop, and that makes things crazy hard. So that's something we need to look at.
At school, we have issues with internet connection too, when we're trying to live stream. So, same provider.
It may just be we're blessed with a great location for marginal internet capability. So.
Thank you, Ron. Yeah. You'll notice in the budget for this year that we have Ron now on staff for this year, because it's become very apparent that our need to do video ministry is meeting, or our ability to do video ministry is meeting a need for many people, not only in our own area, but across the country, and I guess even across the world, which just makes my head explode a little bit. So all thanks and praise to God for the impact that we are having. So, and all thanks to you for being a part of this.
The next report is the 2020 results of the Treasury report. We'll move from that directly into the, if we may, Lisa, into the presentation of the 2021 budget. I don't see anything on here in terms of approving the budget. So I think what we'll do is we'll assume that the time will come, once she completes her presentation, that we will indeed have any discussion there may be, and we'll move on or proceed to approve a budget as she completes her presentation. So, Lisa.
So my report is on page 10. I've included the years for 2017, 18, 19, and 20, just for a short-term historical perspective for our congregation. I think we're blessed. In the middle of a pandemic, we have generous congregation members who have stepped up and met, I use the word obligation, and I think maybe that's kind of has a negative connotation. Maybe a better word would be the feeling in their heart about how they want to use their wealth. And I'm so thankful to be a member of this congregation who has met the needs of so many throughout this year during this crazy, crazy time. And through it all, we are in a better financial place than we've been in recent years. We've increased our outreach ministry. As I mentioned, we've done community dinners as drive-throughs. We support our food pantry, the Backpack for Kids, Kurds for Kids, the Kids Club, as much as we could until we had to close it, and just direct grants to people in need. And we did all that even without our Lutefisk dinner. We closed the year with slightly more offering than expenses, and we were able to increase our savings and our checking. So we still have more work to do, and I think we're in a place where we can continue to do the work. Any questions about 2020?
Yeah, any discussion? Correct. If there are none, all those in favor of approving Treasurer's report as printed, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
For 2021, we are proposing a budget of $161,251. It is a very slight increase from last year, about 1%. And within that budget, we have called Pastor Paul. Our pastor's benefits would be recommended from the synod via his portico, or being the synod portico calculator. So all of those figures were given to us from the synod. Moving down the budget, and I'm sorry, there's not a page number. It should be page 11 and 12, I believe. You will see that we have added in a tech support position. As you heard from Ron, we have a need for somebody who knows what they're doing to take care of this for us. And as I was listening to him, I understood like, okay, I know what he's talking about, I could do that, about maybe 1%. I know how to get on Facebook. So I think we need somebody who knows what they're doing. And in a way, although this line item comes under support staff, it really is moving our outreach ministry monies from one area to another, in a way. So moving down, mission support, we'd kept the La Crosse Area Synod the same, but you will see that we decreased the other mission support because we're looking at that tech support position as another way of having mission support. Our congregational ministries area is where we have the most change. And that's because of the pandemic and what we can do. And so as a council and as a budget committee, we looked at the areas where we just could not gather people safely and do that work safely at this time. And we took it out of the budget for now. So that would be areas, as you can see, like confirmation camp, Sunday school, the summer lunch program, and the community suppers, to name a few, for now. Community suppers.
I just want to clarify a little bit on that, is that we have savings in now accounts for almost every one of those things. So if the opportunity arises that we will need funds for it, we have funds in savings set aside for those. So we're just not putting it in the yearly budget at this point.
Thank you for clarifying. We continue to have our East Building in here as we're waiting for the foundation to receive their go-ahead. And we continue to have our expenses, our monthly expenses. And so we have what we feel is a conservative budget put together of $161,251. Questions or comments? Holly?
Holly, if you come up here, please, you will be the first one. We're going to use you as a training example.
All right. I think this is a great job that you've done on the budget, so I compliment you on that. Could you explain how the pastor's salary is less in 21 than it was in 20? And considering that we have called a pastor, and I'm assuming 80% is more than what he was doing last year. I don't know that for a fact. So could you just explain how the salary works for I understand the pastor benefits and that, but
Yeah.
I would assume that the salary would have increased.
So I believe that the Social Security allowance that is listed in a separate line item this year was not listed separately last year, and that it was all put together into a lump sum. And this year, we separated out those items. So if you look at the totals, you'll see that there is a slight increase. Does that answer your question, Holly?
And that covers the 80% salary?
And that's an 80% salary at his step level that the Synod recommended to us. Okay. And then also below that, you will see that the benefits have been filled in, the disability, his pension, his basic life. So those benefits are now coming to him. So yes, thank you, Holly. The salary looks less. The total package has increased. as we understood with guidance from the Synod.
Okay, I appreciate very much the efforts of Ron. I want to know, is his 10,400, is that non-employee compensation, or is he an employee, therefore he'd have Social Security withheld?
He has benefits, Social Security being paid.
Okay, so he's an employee then.
He is an employee.
Thank you.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the budget as printed. Gary makes the motion, and who seconded it? Todd Beatty seconds that. Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the proposed budget signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Budget carries. Thank you. Okay, that moves us into the annual election. Let's see. Would someone, Todd, would you pass out a ballot to everyone? If you need a pencil, he has some, I'm sure, back there he can bring along. And as we complete these ballots, if I could impose upon Lori and Linda to be our counters then. Thank you. Okay, if everyone has a ballot, as you can see for church council, 3-year terms listed are Paul Pileggi, Dick Miller, and Stacy Armitage. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations?
I move the nominations be closed and cast a unanimous ballot for those listed.
There's a,
Senate Assembly, Nominating Committee, and head usher.
there's a motion on the floor to close the nominations and cast a unanimous ballot. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Congratulations. Okay, moving on to the Synod Assembly voting members. If I'm mistaken on this, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa. The 3 people listed here were the 3 people who were approved to, or voted upon and approved to go to the assembly last year.
I believe that Holly and I were voted on and approved last year. We needed a third, and we did not have a third at the end of the meeting last year. And Bonnie Johnson did volunteer
Okay.
for that. And then go ahead, Dick.
Okay, that's how the nomination committee came up with the listing there. Are there any other nominations?
No, that's it. That's all we can have.
All right, the Synod is saying that we need to have these 3 people
Oh, okay.
fulfill the duty that they were assigned last year and have them do it this year,
Yep.
is what the Synod is saying.
Okay. So it sounds like the Synod wants the 3 of them to come.
Yeah.
Any objections? I'll give you a chance to object. Okay. Thank you. And by the way, if anyone might be interested, if a vacancy would occur due to illness or simply inability to attend, let me know or Pastor Paul so that we can keep you in mind then for that. Okay, the nomination committee for this year, for next year is listed as Lisa Nestigan, Linda Nearing, Wanda Andrig, Tracy Lasowski, and Debbie Fremsted. And Debbie and Tracy were on this year, and the 3 people listed above are council members that will complete their 3rd year. And so we have been historically kind of including those going off to be involved in helping to be involved in the process of nomination. So Is there a motion to, I'm sorry, any other nominations for persons to be on this committee? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Alan, do you want to make your motion? Pardon? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So our vote was to vote the entire ballot?
My motion was to close nominations and cast a unanimous ballot for all those persons listed on the
Oh.
ballot.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And you accepted that, and I think we voted on it.
Okay. I did not interpret it the same way you had stated it. I apologize. Okay. So we're done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, your ballots, we're finished with that phase of it then. Okay, we'll move quickly to page 6, if you would, please. And as you can see, oh, yeah, there you go. What we're voting on is an amendment to our church constitution. And if you look under resolved, upon the occurrence and for the duration of any emergency as that term is defined in the Wisconsin statutes section 181.0207, parentheses 1, this congregation may hold meetings by remote communication, including electronically by a telephone conference, as long as there is an opportunity for simultaneous oral communication. To the extent permitted by state law, notice of all meetings may be provided electronically. If I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, under emergency purposes, the council took that responsibility
Yes.
this last time. We hope it's the last time, last year. So this simply adds us to the Constitution so that it won't have to be made by the council. It's in our Constitution. So this is the amendment. Chair would entertain a motion to approve this amendment. Karen makes that motion. Is there a second? Okay. Holly has the second on that one. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to amend the Constitution as printed here signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. The next listing on our agenda has to do with major projects that have been discussed by the council, and I think we've made that information aware to the congregation, and we would like to restate it. Two major projects, and they're quite major, would be the complete rebuild of, number one, the complete rebuild of the parking lot. There are drainage problems. It's in pretty tough shape. We did look at simply a recoding of that, and in the long term, that's not perhaps the best answer. We are going to have to get more or up-to-date bids on that, but I think we're talking about putting forth this as one of the major projects to be undertaken, at least begin the undertaking of that project. And the second one, which is maybe a little higher priority, though it is number 2 here, is the tuck pointing of the upper part of the church. There is a fair amount of well, the mortar, I couldn't think of mortar. The mortar is deteriorating, and there's a concern that due to the deterioration, that it'll continue, and that some of those bricks may not stay in place. So that is, and again, There was one bid received late in the fall, and come spring, there's another party that will give us a bid on it. So that's, I guess, keep tuned. I think that's primarily I need just to share that with you. And we'll, as time moves on, we will inform the congregation of the status of those two items. But again, those seem to be the two major items in terms of the property here at the West Building. Any comments? Mary? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I don't have those figures with me. Remind me if I'm mistaken here, and anybody who was at the council meeting, I think the rebuild of the parking lot was 60 or 40?
Yeah, that was about, it was in that high 50s, 60,000.
In the $50,000 to $60,000 range. And that would include complete tearing out, grinding it up, using that as part of the base, reshaping. Part of the problem is that if there are places, there are dips and water sits in there, it freezes, it blows it pops the material. And so it'd be a complete rebuild all the way around, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I think all the way around. So that's a major undertaking. If we just coat it, does someone remember what that quote was? 6,000?
It was 7,000 for just a
7,000?
recoat.
And obviously that would last a short period of time, and then we have to come back again. So that's where we stand on that, Mary. Anything you want to comment on that? Anything? Okay. The upper part, how much was that bid to redo the tuck pointing?
I thought, does 14 sound right?
Pardon?
That amount that he said does sound accurate.
About 14,000.
Yeah.
Okay. What they'd have to come in with is a big piece of equipment to get somebody up there. And I think Jarowski gave us the first bid, and then we talked to another mason who indicated he'd rather not give a price until spring. It was too late to do anything anyway in the fall. At least it may not have been for Jarowski, but to get a second bid, it was too late. Holly?
Any of that money included in the budget at this point?
It's not included in the budget, and the council had discussed that matter, and the consensus was to make that as a major project request, a special request that we could build the funds up over a period of time if required to and commit those to that project. And I think we would probably have to deal with the building first, simply because we don't want any brick falling, obviously. Okay, anything else? Thank you, Mary, for that question. East Building update. I've been involved in trying to get the necessary paperwork accomplished in terms of the nonprofit status through the federal government. A bookkeeper was able to put the material together. It did not get in until I received it. It was it October, Shirley? I think it was October. And that was sent in, and I had a touch base with the preparer of that paperwork 3-4 weeks ago, and she indicated if we don't hear anything by March 15th to get back to her on that. But it takes a long time. They have been understaffed, she said, in the federal level, and so that's just taken time. So that's why you'll see that there is on the treasurer's report for the upcoming year, there was a listing for some expenses in keeping that building heated and electrified. So, and I might mention this just for your information. One of the members of the congregation did have a get-together there in the basement over at the East Building yesterday. So once in a while, it is being used. So, obviously, for certain types of function that are appropriate during this particular pandemic, it may be available. So just make you aware of it that when needed, we have been using it some. Not much. We don't use this much in one here either, so. Any questions about the East Building at all? I really am sorry, and I apologize this thing has taken so long. The federal government, as most of us know, government doesn't always move as fast as some of us would like. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a lutefisk dinner. Last year, we, as a congregation, approved participating in that dinner, and we obviously we didn't have it, and it's on the agenda again this year. And I would ask that the congregation decide whether they are wanting to participate. The goal last year was to, the participation would help raise funds for the continued operation of that facility and new programming and so forth. So I would ask the congregation today what your wishes are in this particular matter.
I just need to say that last year at our meeting, we said we would have the lutefisk dinner to help support the foundation. And we weren't able to do that. But I think that we still have maybe the best interest of the foundation in our hearts. And I think that the lutefisk dinner could help the foundation as they begin their journey. And so I would like to see the lutefisk dinner happen.
Would you like to care to make a motion?
Yes, I motion that we have a lutefisk dinner in the fall if we can do so safely with everyone, with guidelines from the health department.
Okay. There's a motion then to support a lutefisk dinner at the East Building, and that be the methodology be determined by the guidelines that are permitted, or guidelines that are set out at that time. Is there a second? I second. Okay. Paul, we'll call you a second on that one. Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. Those who are in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now, it looks to me that we've come to the end of our agenda. So, as a acting chairperson, I'm authorized to say that we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Great. Let's stand and close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And to all our online viewers who tuned in, thank you for coming. And to our friends in Russia, do svidaniya. It's the only word I know.
Good day, everyone. Good day.